Hello and welcome to the Power of Charms. This is Kay McDonald and my special guest today is Laura Juarez. I am so excited to introduce Laura. She and I met through a mutual women's community called the No Women. It used to be the No Tribe, and they do books in all different cities that feature women and their businesses, and they are doing a great job connecting women throughout the country. So Laura is in North Carolina and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's a fun connection.
Yes, absolutely. It's
How
been
long
a
have
lot
you,
of
how
fun.
long have you been a member of the No Tribe?
Oh, I think the Asheville book started in 2019.
Okay. Okay. So and the Phoenix one started in 2018. So anyway, that was our initial connection. I think we met through one of the seminars there, and then Laura and I have done some coaching together, some exercises. We've had a lot of fun. And she's also a fellow Gemini. My birthday's June 8th and Laura's is June 9th. So that's just kind of a fun little fact. But Laura has a business called Pure Potential, and she does business coaching, strategy. She's a yoga instructor. Laura, tell us what inspired you to start Pure Potential.
Yeah, thank you for that question, Kay. And first of all, I'm so delighted to be here. I always so appreciate my time with you. It must be that Gemini spirit. But so I started my career in corporate consulting, a gazillion years ago. And then I eventually ended up running as CEO and owner of a B2B manufacturing company in the building material space. And I did that for 20 years. And through the process of that, I got really curious about what it is that creates and sustains peak performance for both individuals and also organizations. And then also really curious about how is it that we can utilize our businesses and also our jobs, right, our careers, but how we can use our businesses as a vehicle to do good in the world. So most of us either have companies, work for companies, are affiliated with companies that produce a product and a service for a price point to make a profit. And that's, fundamentally the way the wheel goes. And could there be something more there? And how is it that we can use that vehicle to create and sustain something better in the world? Why does it matter that we exist? Why does our work matter in the world? So that was the impetus to create Pure Potential. So as I was transitioning out of my manufacturing company, I'm still involved with it, but just as the chair of the board now, really appreciating this amazing team that I have that makes that all go so that I can focus on Pure Potential. I founded Pure Potential to be a consulting organization that would help companies build strategy around higher purpose and stakeholder orientation versus shareholder primacy, and then really look at how do we actually create, like operationalize conscious culture and conscious leadership. So that's kind of the work that I do with businesses. So the companies I'm working with are really curious about how is it that we are creating environments that people are inspired to work at and for, that are making a difference in the communities that they serve and are having a positive impact on the planet.
Well, I think you're absolutely perfect for that because I've never met anyone who was so balanced. I mean, you are very spiritual and well-grounded in that whole arena, but then you've got this amazing business sense and amazing business background. So tell me, when you first start with a company, so many companies really don't know what to do to get started, to be cause-minded, have corporate responsibility. What kind of process do you go through with companies to pull this out of them and identify what direction they should go in to make a difference?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So it really depends on how it is I arrive at their doorstep.
Okay.
And so sometimes I get called in because there's an acute situation that they want some support solving, and then the rest of it evolves from there. But for the companies that are calling me in specifically to support this work, we're really looking at a set of questions, right? Really getting into dream state and inquiry, because almost anyone who founded a business and or runs a company has a vision of doing something meaningful in the world world. We want to leave a positive legacy. We want to have an imprint that matters. And it's just pulling that out. And sometimes what happens in the process of trying to just make the widget and get it out of the door, get it out the door and handle all of the things that come up, right? 2020, like the pandemic, we lose sight of some of those things because we go into survival mode. So the work that I do is really to help companies not see their purpose or their values as bolt on, but really core, really integral to the decisions that they make every single day. So we start with inquiry and we work with questions like, what is the worthy problem that you want to solve? What are you uniquely equipped to contribute to this world? What was the original vision that you had for the business? Who do you want to be for each of your stakeholder groups? And through that, working with leadership teams, because I always prefer to do that work more collectively versus just with one of the, like with an owner or CEO, but this amazing wealth of information and idea comes forth. And then we start to look for themes and pull together something that feels really coherent and significant to the organization at large. So that's how we do it. And then the important work comes where we say, okay, so well, what does that mean? Because we all know as individuals, we have this aspiration for our life, right? Like we want to be in peak physical fitness, or we want to be spiritually evolved and on the path. But then we get so busy doing our life, we feel like we're disintegrated from that vision. And so how is it that we create the integration? How is it that we're really creating the immersion so that we're living it every single day?
Oh, that's so, yeah. You're able to bring this out in companies and in people in a very unique way. Tell me what is your secret sauce, Laura Juarez? How are you able to do that? What is your background and what do you internally have as a person that gives you
Yeah,
this expertise?
gosh, boy, that's a big question. And um, I think I have a lot of things that I'm not good at, and I'm aware of what those are. And then probably a lot that I'm not aware of. We could probably ask the people that live close to me about that. But what I am really good at is I'm really good at asking the right questions and asking questions that shake someone's foundation, like shake up the boundaries a little bit so that we can see beyond what we maybe were seeing before. We're kind of extending our lens.
Mhm.
And I think that that's really core to living well, is asking better questions and then staying with those better questions until we come up with compelling answers
Mhm.
that we don't just think about, right? But that we've really integrated at a mind, body, and soul level. And an organization has a mind, a body, and a soul, just like humans. And so when we really get something, when it really lands through the whole of us, then that's when we actually start to do something with it. So I think that's maybe what I would say is my special sauce. Is I'm pretty intuitive. I have a really good strategic mind, so I see things. I'm a really good dot connector for people, but I really also just have a lot of passion, and also I'll stay in it because I really want to be part of creating this extraordinary roadmap with companies.
Yeah. Well, I can speak from experience in working with you. You helped me through a difficult time with the pandemic when we all had to shift and look at, how we were going to continue to serve, but in new and different ways. And you truly have a really unique way of pulling out the questions, the problems, and then coming up with solutions and concrete things. I remember you told me, let's choose 3 things that you're going to achieve this year and then make a roadmap. And we did it. And it's pretty incredible. So I can speak firsthand that my experience with you is wonderful. You are forming like a collaboration with, you have lots of other people that you work with and you're kind of growing a team.
Yeah.
And I love collaboration and growing and co-opetition, all that kind of stuff. Tell us about your direction for your company and your team and how that's moving ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Kay, I think ultimately my vision for the impact that I most want to have in my life is bigger than what I can do single-handedly.
Mhm.
And I also would really love to see my work extend beyond my lifetime, that my work is contributing to this larger body of work where we're starting to understand that we can lean on businesses to be advocates for a better humanity, that
Mhm.
we can lean on businesses to take an active role in elevating humanity. And so it's really clear to me that me doing that solo is interesting and fun, but me finding ways to do it collaboratively is better. And so one of the things that I'm really committed to doing is looking at other organizations and other people that are doing adjacent work and are committed to some core principles like values, like being evidence-based, right? Like that
Mhm.
we're actually demonstrating that we're proving it out, so to speak, that we're not just kind of selling the theory, which sounds all lovely and fluffy and nice, like, oh, well, let's use our businesses to elevate humanity. No, let's actually demonstrate that those businesses perform better, right? That those businesses last longer, that they have higher retention and engagement, higher productivity, higher impact in their communities. And so always looking for those kinds of relationships where I can capitalize on someone else's strengths that are adjacent to mine, but that help to elevate the work that I'm doing and that I serve in the same way. So really looking for those win-win opportunities.
Yeah, well, that seems like the way the world is going. I mean, there are so many social problems, and the governments don't seem to be able to solve them. So I'm seeing a huge trend, as it sounds like you are, with businesses taking on more responsibility and trying to solve social problems through their business.
Right.
Um, it seems to me that that's a big trend. Are you finding that? Do you feel that?
I find more and more that leaders are interested in this conversation and that it's familiar to them. Now, whether or not they've done anything with it within their organizations is a whole other question.
Right.
I think we still very much have a habit within the business world that a lot of the contributions we're making to community, for example, are bolt-on HR charitable contribution programs versus
Mhm.
an integrated solution into the fabric of our business. But I really believe that, Kay. I think that I hope that there's an enlightenment path that we are on culturally. And I also do think you make a great point that we're seeing pretty obviously that these institutions that we used to be able to rely on, or we thought we could rely on to pave the way, like our government, right? Like our media, we cannot depend on them for that. And businesses are uniquely positioned, and it is voluntary. They don't have to do it, right? No one says you have to do any of this with your company. But if you choose, there's a really beautiful path for it.
Right. I think it's important for people to be uh, fed wonderful information and be inspired on a daily basis. You have an amazing blog, and people can go on and sign up for that. Let me ask you, where do you get your inspiration? Do you have books you can share with us, or mentors, or live streams, or something that gets you going and ignites you and keeps you on top of your game?
Mhm. I'm a voracious reader, almost to a fault,
Yeah,
I would say. So
me
I'm
too.
really aware of that. Um, I'll tell you, I like to get information from lots of sources, but the best work that I do is more internally focused. It's really allowing my inner wisdom to bubble to the surface. And I think most of us are so jammed in our lives that we have no white space. We have no time to just be. There's no spaciousness in which this wisdom that's beyond our thinking mind can bubble up, take form, and be something that we can articulate. And so I'm pretty tuned into and committed to maintaining that kind of spiritual white space in my life
Mhm.
and carve it out every single day. So ways that you can do that are, time in nature, meditation, contemplative prayer, journaling, time on your yoga mat. You mentioned earlier my passion for wellness. I have a boutique wellness business as well that has been
Mhm.
a lifesaver for me personally. But I think really allowing your inner voice, allowing that inner wisdom to percolate and to lift, to rise, because it needs enough time and space that it becomes as loud as, if not louder than, your thinking mind. And your thinking mind is super loud and busy. So I would say that, yeah, I read a lot. I read about, I do a lot of business reading, but it's that internally focused time to access and maybe even a better word than access is to remember, right? To really tune in and remember this inner wisdom that I believe we're all seated with.
Let me ask you something, Laura. Have you always been this way, or is it something that's developed through the years? Like, were you, like when you were a teenager, did you do yoga? When you were in college,
Yeah.
have you always been this way, or is it a path
No.
that's developed? Tell
No.
me about that. Because that's that is my always my quest to be more healthy, to be more mindful, to make time for meditation, work out, you know, all this stuff. And I never seem to have time to do it. And I think that's very common with anybody that owns a business. So, um, how did you do it?
Yeah. There are elements of that have always been part of my life. Like, I've always been an athlete, and so athletics or movement have always been part of my life. I mean, when I had little kids and was working 60 plus hours easily a week, I still worked out every single day. Like, I just always made time for that and always will. Like, I'm really clear about that. It's a non-negotiable for me in my life. I have always had a pretty healthy diet, right? But when I was 34, 35, after my second child was born, so I would have been 35, I really took quite a significant collapse. Like, I just crashed and I was working incredibly hard. I was raising two little kids. I was burning it at both ends, and my body just quit literally over a window of time. And it was a big wake up call for me, Kay. I think a lot of women struggle with this at some point in their lives. And, I'd love to say I was more intelligent, that I picked up on the subtle signs, but I didn't pick up on the subtle signs and needed like the 2x4 over the head. And that's what I got. And it took me getting to a point where a physician said, change it or I'll meet you in the hospital. And within 6 weeks, my hair was falling out. I would speak and like garbled messes would come out of my mouth. My body hurt.
Oh,
Um, it was just a mess. And I look back at that time now and I think, wow, why was I willing to do that to myself? In pursuit of what? Right? Like, in pursuit of perfection, in pursuit of achievement. And that was a big mind shift for me to say, who do I really want to be in this lifetime? And then what are the tools and technologies I can use to support that? And so that's where yoga and meditation came into my life. Those were not natural for me. I had to really like work to incorporate them into my life. Now they're very much habit, but that did not come easy for me at all. So yeah, I think I took a pretty big collapse, and through that process made some big decisions around who I wanted to be in the world. And then the rest of it, I just take one day at a time. And I'm really committed to practices of self-care, committed to practices of self-love, committed to gentleness with myself, but also drive, right? Like playing in the space of both, and being really amused at what I'm terrible at and forcing myself to get better. That part of me is maybe my Gemini, I don't know,
uh,
but yeah, I think we can't put ourselves last. And I'm really committed to modeling that for my kids as well.
well, I think your story is a one that it is a total inspiration and can be to lots of women. We're always trying to do everything for everyone, and having that full-time career and the two kids, it's not surprising that that happened, but isn't it interesting how we grow from these awakenings? Sometimes you have to kind of hit rock bottom in order to dig yourself out and create a new fabulous space to live in. So
Yes, yes. And it's, I think sometimes we think it's going to be instantaneous, that we're just going to make this decision and then something's going to happen. I mean, that was sick. My youngest child's 16 years old. This has been a path, right? But that is the beauty and the gift of this lifetime. It's we
yeah.
have today, and what will I do with this moment? What will I do with this day?
Talking about that, I want to bring in a fun subject because of what I do. I'm in the charm business, and as I've done my interviews with all these fabulous women, it's interesting to see if there is a significant symbol that has that inspires you, or that every time you see it, you're like, oh yes, that I'm hopeful, I'm inspired. This defines me. Do you have a symbol like that?
Hmm. I I love animals.
Mm.
And so, my kind of sacred animal is the bear, but the symbol that I think I would choose is the hummingbird.
I love hummingbirds. Tell us why hummingbirds are significant to you.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I went to a hummingbird sanctuary once, and my husband and we learned a lot about the hummingbird, and the hummingbird is fierce. I
Yes.
mean, she is quite a fighter and very fierce. And I mean, you watch those wings and the effort and the tenacity and the speed and the agility, but so graceful, right? So graceful, so beautiful. And really this, like, just I think this really beautiful blend of all of those things, harmonizing this ease and this effort, harmonizing this fierceness, this warrior aspect of self, and then this soft gentleness of the beauty. So I think that's why she appeals to me so much.
Oh, I really love that. Hummingbirds have a special significance to me as well. My dad has passed, and I just feel that the day that he passed, the hummingbird was there looking at me right in the window. My mother experienced the same thing. I have hummingbirds in my garden, so yeah, no, and I think it's important for people to have symbols, surround themselves with important symbols like totems and just inspiration. And so, in the work that you do, I would imagine symbols appear to you all the time that have significance.
Yes, yes, that's the beauty of nature, right? That sometimes we just need to look up and look around, and there's wisdom and message coming to us from nature, often in the form of animal communication.
Yes, it's so very true. Well, Laura, I'm enjoying our conversation. I want to make sure that you are able to articulate what is next in Laura's life now. I mean, you've done so much, and you're an inspiration to so many. COVID has been a real challenge to so many of us, and we've had to change the way that we work and what we do. But opportunities come out of challenges too. What new things are surfacing in the world for you, and are there any new directions that you're taking that we'd like that you want to share with us, other
Yeah.
than things we've covered?
Right, right. Well, on a personal front, Kay, I have a 16-year-old daughter. I also have an 18-year-old son who's a senior in high school this year. So I was commenting to a friend of mine who's also a no woman that this year, 2021, feels like a year of thresholds. Like it's like,
Mm.
2020 was so interesting. It was like a tunnel. It felt like a tunnel. And 2021 feels like a year of thresholds. And so I see my kids like really moving to this next phase of life, and the privilege of a lifetime to witness that is it's really precious to me. So that, like, for me, top of mind, just on a personal level, is I'm very tuned in to that right now. On a business level, because as you know, I love to work. I
Yes.
tell people all the time, I'm like, It's like a hobby.
Yeah.
It's like, I love to work. They're like, but don't you want to go and have fun? I'm like, I am having fun. What are you talking about? And I really could work all the time, like left to my own devices. That's what I would do. I would just work all the time. But I'm really excited about one particular partnership that I'm beginning to launch with two other women, one who's in Boston and one who's in Boulder, Colorado. And they are both involved with me through the Conscious Capitalism organization nationally. And we're pulling together our expertise to just widen what we can do, widen our reach, and deepen our penetration with clients to really give and offer a more holistic solution. So I'm really excited about that. That feels talk about like that idea of thresholds, like that feels very much I'm at the threshold of that. And then Pure Wellness, which is the boutique wellness business that I was mentioning, that had always been a physical place. Like I've owned a wellness business in the form of a physical yoga studio since 2010 as a little side hustle, a little side hobby. And through COVID, I made some decisions around, gosh, what will that look like ongoing and what really supports highest good? And so I converted it into an online wellness business that is holistic well-being. So it's not just yoga and meditation, but we have educators, a functional medicine doctor, we have a conscious parenting doctor, we have people that teach nature's rhythms. And I mean, it's really beautiful. Plants and food as medicine. And so I'm excited to see where that goes. I'm really looking forward to the next iteration of that, which will be offering that particular library and platform to companies to offer to their employees as a wellness benefit. So those are just a couple little things that I have cooking. And then I still have the Conscious Leadership podcast, which I've done now for a year and a half or so, and love hosting that and continue to evolve and track with that podcast. And I'm excited about where it's going in 2021.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. But I was a guest on your podcast and I really enjoyed it. And I think you've interviewed over 100 people now, haven't you?
I have done about 100 episodes, and they're not all interviews. So some of them you just get me, but I've had a lot of really amazing guests, such as yourself, who are doing exciting things in the world. And I think demonstrate what I'm trying to share with people, that this is possible. This idea of having a successful, thriving business financially can coexist with having a business that elevates humanity and makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, I love how you are blending and focusing on the, profit, but also just potential and, the responsibility of companies going forward and integrating it into their culture. And that conscious capitalism also is probably an integral group for you too. I'm aware of that. And I'm not sure if some of our listeners have heard of it, but they have chapters nationwide. So if you're looking to, meet other like-minded people. But I encourage everyone to expose yourself to more Laura, because it's all it is just positive. It's always mind expanding every time I talk to you. There's always something great going on, and your wisdom is just, beyond your years, Laura, I must tell you. So if people want to reach out and connect with you, do they go to laurajuarez.com? Is that the best site for them to?
Absolutely. You can zip over to my website, which is just laurajuarez.com, or you can send an email to connect@laurajuarez.com. And either way, you will get to me.
Excellent. Well, gosh, I hate to cut this short. I could talk to you for hours, but I know that you're a very busy lady with not only a family, but your business and now all these other businesses that you're helping. And you've also helped me and my business in Charity Charms. So I appreciate it. The world appreciates it. And again, Laura Juarez. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you so much, Kay.